The Democrats on the left seem in complete denial. Well, I don't think it's really denial. They know about Joe and Hunter Biden. They know about the Biden family racket. They're trying to hide it. Jen Psaki was recently asked by Peter Doocy at Fox News, hey, there's an email in which Hunter is talking about needing to get some keys made for his new office mates, and one of them is Joe Biden. And Jen Psaki goes, they were not office mates. So this is just essentially the idea that just by denying something, it makes it untrue. No, it is true. You're just trying to obfuscate the simple fact. Well, turns out there's now a piece of smoking gun evidence that ties Joe and Hunter Biden very closely together in the Biden racket. And it is an email that reveals that Joe Biden wrote a letter of recommendation for a crooked Chinese businessman who was in partnership with Hunter Biden. So this was a political favor directly extended by Joe Biden. President Biden wasn't the president then, but it was vice president. And this is the same Joe Biden who said, I don't know anything about my son's business deal. I don't have any involvement in any of that. It has nothing to do with me. And this has been the left's mantra now. Now that they can't deny the laptop, they are taking refuge in the idea, well, Joe didn't know anything about it. Well, let's look at what happened here. Turns out in 2017, then Vice President Biden wrote this letter of recommendation for a guy named Jonathan Lee, L.I. And this guy Lee is the CEO of a big company, which was in a joint venture with Hunter Biden's company, which was called Rosemont Seneca. Hunter Biden, in fact, had a 10% stake in the Chinese guy Lee's company. And this guy Lee sends a note to Hunter Biden and his business associates, which is Devin Archer and Jim Bolger. And this is what Lee writes. He goes, gentlemen, please find the attached resume of my son, Chris Lee. He's applying to the following colleges for this year, and he lists Brown University, Cornell University, and New York University. And then he attaches, quote, an updated version of his son's CV. Now, what's interesting is to kind of follow this trail. Hunter Biden's associate James Bulger responds with, and he's responding now internally to Hunter and Devin Archer, he goes, quote, let's see how we can be helpful here to Chris. In other words, what can we do for this kid? And then a few weeks later, Eric Schwerin, who is the president of Rosemont Seneca, this is the Hunter Biden company, he replies to Lee. And he says, Jonathan, this is Jonathan Lee, Hunter asked me to send you a copy of the recommendation letter that he asked his father to write on behalf of Christopher for Brown University. So what we have here is confirmation that Joe Biden went ahead and, as his son asked, wrote the letter for this guy and submitted it to Brown University. Now look, when you have Hunter Biden collecting money from Chinese companies under the control of the Chinese Communist Party, then taking that money and putting it into the family coffers, 10% for the big guy. And this is all now has multiple avenues of corroboration, not just the validated emails themselves, but also the testimony of Tony Bobulinski, who was brought in as a business partner by the Biden crime family. So all of this puts pressure now, I think, on Merrick Garland to appoint a special counsel. Why? Because it's really clear that Joe Biden is not being honest here. Now, what Bobulinski said was that Joe Biden tried to keep his name out of all this. So Biden was aware that he was doing crooked deals, but he wanted to make his own fingerprints as faint as possible. And so at one point, apparently, there was a clear instruction given, don't mention Joe being involved. So Biden was trying to keep his name out of it, so to speak, even though he was involved. And at sometimes when they refer to Biden, because they have to refer to him at some time, he's part of the racket. He's basically the Don Corleone of the racket. They would use code names. So two of Biden's code names were Celtic and the big guy. And of course, as I mentioned, the big guy was at one point talked about in terms of getting a 10% share. So all of this, I think, means that the Republicans now need to be on the bullhorn, demanding that Merrick Garland appoint a special counsel in order to investigate not just Hunter Biden. This is not just about Hunter Biden. James Biden, the president's brother, Frank Biden, the other brother, are all involved in this. And the recommendation that Joe Biden himself wrote for this corrupt Chinese businessman, Hunter Biden's partner, is clear evidence that the big guy is very much involved.